right. So, anybody look at Facebook this morning and kind of post something recently, and you look to see if somebody looked at it? How many likes I got? I posted a story. Did anybody see that story? Well, I'm going to talk about what's doing something when you don't see the value in doing it. And more particularly, I'm trying to hope that might encourage and inspire those of us involved in various ministries as we reflect on the ministries of Jesus. So in the corporate world, there's a factor known as the 80-20 rule. Does anybody know what the 80-20 rule is? Yeah, so 80% of the results come from 20% of the employees. Otherwise, a very small minority does majority of the work. Now, the reason for lack of productivity is uncertain, but something we all struggle with at times. And my company actually was hoping to somehow figure out a way to reach that 30% productivity. So to do the math, if you have, you're calculating a tip, 20%, and you have 50, and 20% of 50 is, anybody? 10. So if you have 50 people in a group, majority of the productivity is going to come from 10. And if you can increase it to 30%, then that's 15 people. Okay? So doing something when we don't immediately see the value in doing it. We've all been there, where your motivation is running about 3%, but the excuses are running about 110%. For example, I really wanted to go fishing today, but with the wind blowing the way it is, the fish aren't going to be biting. I'm not going to go. I wanted to go hunting today, but, it's so cold, the deer are going to be laying down. They're not going to be moving around. Or maybe if it's too hot, maybe they're not going to be moving around. But anyways, the excuse is there. I wanted to go out and sit by the campfire tonight, but the mosquitoes are just going to be too thick, so I want to stay inside. Well, we've all been there. We can see the evidence, but we can see the inconvenience, but we can't see the value. We see the obstacle, but we don't see the purpose. But imagine if Jesus maybe approached his ministry the same way. This is supposed to be humorous, but if Jesus would have said, the crowds are enormous today. I think I'm going to wait for a quieter moment. The Pharisees, they're arguing again, so I'm gonna avoid the conflict. The disciples, they're confused again, so I'm going to postpone the lesson until they get it. The journey to Jerusalem is long, dusty, and uphill. Maybe I'll push it to next week. The world's a mess, too much need, too many problems. Maybe wait for a quieter century. These might be humorous, but they highlight the real truth. Jesus had every opportunity to turn away. Every excuse imaginable could have been justified, yet he continued anyways. Not because it's convenient, not because everyone understood him, but because he saw the purpose beyond the moment, meaning beyond the mess, the value, and what was visible. So the scene of the Last Supper. Jesus gathers his 12 disciples. They're all physically present, but perhaps not all mentally fully there. Not unlike when you're giving your child instructions and halfway through your child says something completely unrelated, just not quite there. No, I'm not speaking about anybody in particular, but so at this moment, Jesus breaks the cup, and he breaks the bread, and he lifts the cup and says, "This is my body, this is my blood. Do this in remembrance of me." The references are in Matthew 26, Mark 14, and Luke 22. Paul later echoes this in 1 Corinthians 11:23 through 26, reminding us every time we partake in communion, we proclaim the Lord's death until he comes. Jesus knew exactly what was coming. He knew the suffering. He knew the betrayal. He knew the cost. And yet, he did not turn away. He did not quit. He did not let distractions derail his purpose. Because what he was doing through his disciples couldn't fully see it, had eternal value. So what about us? Most of the time, we don't see immediate results. We don't see the fruit yet. We don't see the challenge our faithfulness is producing. We don't see the change our faithfulness is producing. We see the effort, the inconvenience, the obstacles, the reason to put it off tomorrow. But here's the truth. Purpose often becomes clear only after obedience. God reveals value through his faithfulness. Growth happens because we show up, especially on the days we don't want to. And a couple quotes from Eleanor Roosevelt. Do one thing every day that scares you. You must do the thing you think you cannot do. The future belongs to those who believe in the beauty of their dreams. These are secular quotes, but there's some spiritual reality. Courage doesn't mean you feel ready. It means you move anyways. The story isn't over. It ends with a reminder. Jesus knew what was about to happen, yet he continued despite it. But it didn't end there. It's important to remember it's not over yet. Jesus is returning. Christians need to come together. They need to inspire one another and continue the mission that's in motion. Communion is not just a remembrance. It is a recommitment, a refocusing, and aligning ourselves again with the mission of Jesus. The mission he refused to abandon, even when every excuse to stop was available. Closing challenge. As we prepare our hearts for communions, I want to leave you with this. What has God asked you to do you've been avoiding because you cannot see the value yet? Where have you allowed inconvenience and discomfort to outweigh obedience? What mission has God placed on your hands that need your renewed yes? Jesus showed us what it looks like to be faithful when the road is uphill. Communion reminds us that his mission continues through us. So today, as we take the bread and the cup, let the commitment not just remember his sacrifice, but to continue the mission, even when we cannot fully see the value in what we're doing. So let's take a minute to get our minds right and reflect, and then we'll read 1 Corinthians 23 through 26 and take the elements. For I received from the Lord what also delivered to you. And the Lord Jesus, on the night that he betrayed, took the bread, and when he had given thanks, he broke and said, "This is my body, which is for you. Do this in remembrance of me." In the same way, he took the cup after supper, saying, "This cup is the new covenant in my blood. Do this as often as you drink it in remembrance of me. For as often as you eat this bread and drink this cup, you proclaim the Lord's death until he comes. Please take the elements when you are ready.